Assassin's Creed 3 came out in 2012 to mixed reviews. Some people did not like this game and others loved it. Connor Kenway is a polarizing protagonist compared to Ezio Auditore and Altair Ibn Ma'aha. Similar to the storyline and the conclusion to the Desmond Miles storyline, this game was my entry into the console gaming scene. This is the first title that I loved. I loved running through the streets, climbing buildings, and assassinating key targets, or causing mass fights in the streets. To me as a child, it was compelling. I hold that bias to this day, recently playing the remaster. It brought up old memories of this game. However, looking at it more with a more analytical mind, I can see that this game has its flaws. What captivates me the most about the Assassin's Creed series is the freedom of traversal. It is so frustrating in games when you can't hop over short obstacles and brings me out of the immersion. They were hardly the first game to implement parkour into games, but in Assassin's Creed it simply fits the assassin outfit. A hooded figure moving effortlessly through the environment, utilizing your eagle vision to scope targets, makes you feel sneaky. The movement isn't as flawless in practice. I will elaborate on this further. Ubisoft wanted to do something different. Ezio was getting tiresome, and they wanted a new protagonist to use in the storyline. I love Connor and his motivations, his backstory. They all seem human. He wants to do the best he can for his people. That is something that we as an audience can agree upon. Flaws are necessary for immersion, something I know you have heard before. But simply, whatever you feel for Connor in this game, that's okay. Not everyone will love him, but most can agree that he is well written. Combat systems in games are hard to perfect, but people can tell great combat systems from poor combat systems to mediocre combat. This is mediocre. At first it is fun. As you finish the story, you eventually get bored. It's essentially autopilot. Watch the red or yellow triangle. Red for an incoming strike, or yellow triangles for an impending ranged attack. Red, press a button, and then another button. Yellow is a human shield. During this game, sometimes I go through fist fights with my peripheral vision only. Not even as a brag. Anyone can do this. It's not challenging. That's the problem. We weren't asking for an impossible combat system where you reload your saves a million times and memorize movesets. But a change is needed to keep focus. I've gotten overwhelmed and tried to escape, but the clunky movement system and glitches caused me to die multiple times. That's not skill-based, it's only frustrating. There are a lot of weapons you can purchase that spice up the combat. Daggers, tomahawks, heavy axes, and swords. Each has a variation in animations which are exciting. Connor adds brutal animations that are satisfying, but the player can't control them to any extent. It is simply a cinematic flair. Combat has a few varieties. You can be more assassin-esque and silently walk through the streets, blending in and picking off guards, or running guns blazing and take out the entire city. I love the choice between the two. Both playstyles are immersive in their own right. I recommend using both. There are a lot of hiding spots that you can use to escape from guards if you find yourself to be overwhelmed. A lot of times I will start the game and I will play and I will get a huge group of guards to chase after me, but then I will have to escape because I'm going to die. And so there are hay bales, people you can hide between, you can jump down wells, things like that, which is very fun, and it makes you feel sneaky when you run around a corner and suddenly you disappear. The parkour is great, but it's buggy. You can have a flow going, running on rooftops and climbing buildings, looking for a hiding spot. If mid-climb you even tap the jump button, you will jump backwards and back on the ground. But sometimes when you do, Connor will jump farther up the building. That is not consistent. With a movement system that encourages fluidity while not allowing you complete control over the moveset. It's frustrating. You have a fast vault system. As you free run towards a low fence or wall, you can press circle while running to quickly vault over it with a spin vault animation. It is a great idea and makes it badass. When it works. It only works on average 5 out of 10 times. That's a big problem when there's an enemy directly behind you and you have a route planned out. But Connor decides on the 6th time to climb over it and the enemy tackles you. Any distance you put between a group of enemies is now null and void because of 50% chance that you vault over it instantly. That's a huge problem that causes frustration. Boston and New York you unlock as you progress through the story, and are the most interesting of the settings. There are buildings you can scale, tons of guards patrolling the streets, guards on rooftops that break up your endless free run on the rooftops that make you think to take them out. Exactly what should be happening. Buildings aren't your safe zone. Enemies can climb, which make escapes difficult. That's a good thing. There are open windows and doors that allow you to run through the building to break the line of sight of the guards. Connor runs through them cinematically, hopping over tables or running past people, but the placing is not very good. You essentially have to plan exactly where they will come into play, which could cause a pre-planned escape route to utilize these fantastic designs, or frustration as you miss the door or window and instead climb the building. That is the biggest problem so far. The game teaches you a way to do something, but the unreliability of the movement gets you a different outcome a lot of the time. There are Templar bases to liberate and liberation missions to gain assassin allies. Side missions and money are all main incentives. There's a pickpocket mechanic that allows you to steal from guards or civilians. It's a reliable way to make a bit of money. This game showed you better ways of making money later on, but if you want outfits and different weapons early on in the game, this would be how you do it. There are chests scattered throughout the cities. Many are protected by guard dogs or in a restricted guard base, which is a challenge to do with stealth. Using the whistle mechanic, you can get enemies where you want them. Using hiding zones or out of the line of sight from enemies, you can earn the contents of the chest. Definitely worth your while. There are general stores around these cities that allow you to sell your pelts and meats from hunting, and purchase ammunition and better weapons, crucial to what you'll be doing throughout the story. Synchronization points allow you to see the map in its entirety, which is a good system and rewarding. After you unlock the synchronization, you realize how big these maps really are, which is exactly what we wanted. There are horses you can take out and ride, which are not a crime for some reason. I mean, you just fucking stole someone else's property, but that's okay. That's another point I wanted to bring up. There's no dynamics between the crimes. If you plant a trip mine in the city streets and throw change into it and you kill 5 civilians, you get desynchronized, which is fair. Connor doesn't kill civilians and you just committed an act of terrorism. The guards treat that the same as pickpocketing someone or killing 50 guards. There isn't a dynamic punishment system. It's all the same. The guards will attack you and try to kill you, so fight or escape. There are wanted levels, notoriety 1 through 3, which are more pain if anything. Notoriety 1 is enemies will detect you. Notoriety 2, enemies will search on sight. Notoriety 3, enemies will attack on sight. The main hunting area in the game, full of trees, cliff faces, and rivers. It's perfect. There are a few patrols here or there and maybe some civilian camps. Perfect for funding your misdeeds. It's breathtaking, especially when it snows. You leave footprints. There are snowstorms, the lighting reflects gracefully off of the snow. There are hunting regions that allow you to get specific game to hunt, from deer to mountain lions, wolves, and bears. There's a certain way the game wants you to hunt these animals, to minimize damage to the pelts. The less harmful the method, the more the pelt is worth. However, this can be overridden. If you place a trip mine and lure 20 animals with bait and you blow them up, you will get 20 damaged pelts, still worth a bit of money. So what's the point of having this mechanic? They don't give you a level of damage. They give you undamaged and damaged. But if you use a bomb to kill an animal versus a gun, the level of damage is going to be higher. This is what I was talking about before. The level of consistency makes the game confusing. Because if you use trip mines, which are not normal hunting practice, especially for a Native American like Connor, and you blow them up, the pelts should be disintegrated, not just damaged. Because if you use a club, they're also damaged, and if you also use a pistol, they're also damaged. Many missions take place in the frontier, and you really have to see for yourselves how spectacular this setting is. I cannot get over how good this game looks in the snow. They have a lot of missions with snow, and a lot of missions in summer. And the snow just looks fantastic. You leave footprints. The lighting looks really good. It's crazy. This is my favorite place to play, is in the frontier. The homestead is your main base of operations. You train to be an assassin here, and you complete homestead missions, which make trade more valuable. In the homestead, you get access to the Aquila missions, which are a highlight of the game by far. There are chests, animals, and other miscellaneous people to talk to or do missions for. It looks very similar to the frontier, but there's a considerable amount more to do in this area. You can make huge sums of cash by doing trading. The trading system, when you unlock the Aquila, which is a ship, you can send sea caravans or land caravans, and you can sell your pellets that you've earned, which is fantastic. And I've made about 30,000 gold reliably from this method. It's a crucial place in the story. This is where you meet Achilles Davenport. You learn what your Connor's motivations are, but it's even more fun to run around in it. The story starts out with Haytham Kenway, the main character's father. We seem to be under the illusion that he's a good guy. After all, we see him carrying hidden blades and he seems polite. We take a ship to Boston and begin to gather people to the cause. We later find out that Haytham is a Templar, which is really cool. For the first part of the game, we think we are doing a good thing only to have been assisting the enemy. Immediately after that, we have to do a Desmond Miles mission, and they are so boring. I nearly fell asleep doing the missions. People want to be an assassin, not running around a dark cave. That's not fun, it's boring. My biggest complaint in this game is these missions. The assassin storyline is compelling and interesting, but nobody cares about Desmond. He's a secondary character. People don't get Assassin's Creed to play as Desmond Miles. I'm sorry, they don't. They're so predictable too. Anytime you assassinate a key target, Desmond shows up in the loading screen like the little fucker he is, and I prepare for boredom for the next 30 minutes. He's not compelling. He's bland. People have had enough of Desmond. Assassin's Creed 1, Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. He's dumb. I'm sorry, he's stupid. We then begin playing as Raton Agheton when he was a child, but then we get betrayed by Charles Lee and the other Templars that we grew attached to. This is fantastic. It breaks our hearts. We fell in love with Charles Lee and the other characters. They were unique and well written. That's why I can empathize with Connor so much. It's like a personal betrayal. We like these characters, but then we find out they're psychopathic racist scum. We now have our list of characters to kill. We make allies on the way and enemies. This game has twists and turns and makes us question who the good guys are. It's not so black and white. We agreed with George Washington, but then he learned he ordered an extermination of Connor's people. The Templars speak some truth and some lies. Achilles, our assassin mentor, speaks some truth and some lies. It makes us distrust our own motives. That's death. In life, nothing is black and white. When the games make us question about what we're doing, whether it's right or wrong, that's important, because as far as the Assassin's Creed storyline goes, we have no idea who's right and wrong. Yes, the assassins may think they're right, but the Templars also think they're right. Now, we can agree that the Templars in this game are very clearly bigoted, racist, and they have selfish motives, but so does Connor. Connor's not doing this for the good of mankind. He's doing this to protect his own people. He doesn't care about the English settlers and controlling their lives. There's a level of selfishness that we learn was in the Colonial Brotherhood later on in the games when we learn about Shay McCormick. This is the thing I like. Assassin's Creed is not completely black and white, because in life nothing ever is, like I said. So it just adds so much to the core experience when you realize, when you start questioning yourself, is what I'm doing right or is what I'm doing wrong? The conclusion to the Desmond Miles storyline was, I didn't even care, because I was already so turned off to the idea of Desmond Miles that it didn't even matter what happened, because I didn't care about him to begin with. You know, a lot of people were disappointed that that's how it ended, but I never empathized with Desmond Miles to begin with. For me to sit there and care that he died, like, of course I cared that he died, he was a human being, but I didn't see the point. You know, he sacrificed himself for some, despot to, control Earth and stop an extinction event, but, none of the other things made me care about that plot at all. To me, the main plot was Connor. Right? His struggles, that was the main plot. This was the secondary plot that they wanted us to care about. And if you play, I played Assassin's Creed 1 and Assassin's Creed 2, and I was done with Desmond Miles, so I didn't play Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. But the thing is, by the time this game came out, I was so done with Desmond that I didn't care. And that's the biggest story problem in this game, is the fact that Desmond Miles just breaks up the action, he breaks the tension, and to be honest, I think this game would be a lot better without him there. So in my personal opinion, I really like the storyline. There are problems with the game, but there are problems with a lot of games. I really think that if you guys want to play this game, it's going to be worth your while. I recommend the remaster. They fixed a little bit of things that were problems in the original game that I brought up. Remaster doesn't fix everything. There's still a lot of bugs and a lot of weird things. If you focus on the Connor storyline only, to me it's very compelling. I love Connor as a character, and a lot of people complain that Connor's not anything like Altair or Ezio, but if every character was the same, it would be boring. Connor has his own motivations, he has his own thing, and the main complaint is that he doesn't show any emotion. The thing is, not every character shows emotion the same way. They're a human being. There's differences. The way I express my emotions is different than how you, the viewer, would express your emotions, I'd imagine. There are fundamental differences between each human being. There's going to be a fundamental difference between Altair and Ezio. There's going to be a fundamental difference between Ezio, Altair, and Connor. That's just the way it is. If we have repeat of the characters, the series isn't going to grow. The series is going to stagnate because then every character acts the same. And then the same people who complain about Connor would then complain that all the characters are the same. So it's sort of a losing battle at this point. Now I'm going to go into the ratings. The story, I think it's a 9 out of 10. The Desmond Miles secondary story is like a 4 out of 10 to me because it was so boring. The animations, they're lacking. I'll be honest, they're lacking. The combat is also lacking. So the animations and combat I'm going to rate together. I'm going to give them both a 6 out of 10. Then we have the trading system. The trading system, the hunting system, is fantastic. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. You can make a lot of money very quickly, and that's what a lot of people want. It allows you to buy different outfits. What I think about the outfits in the game, 10 out of 10. They look fantastic. The remaster gives you some other suits, so it gives you like the Origin suit, gives you the Shane McCormick suit, it gives you Achilles suit, the first Colonial Assassin suit, and all these other different suits. They're purely cosmetic, but they look pretty cool. So thank you guys so much for watching this game review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought about it below. I'm interested to know if you guys did like this video. If you could leave a like on it, that would help me out a lot. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.